I started doing these tours when I was about 19. I had just gotten out of Rio Grande City High School, and I did these tours for about a year. And then one year I got the idea of talking with my friends, you know, we should really do a haunted house tour. Not so much a haunted house tour, but a tour of the paranormal sites, of the places where people have reported seeing ghosts. Alrighty, so this is going to be our first stop. We're going to do a little bit of walking. Walking is good. It promotes cardiovascular energy. And hopefully we might see some interesting stuff down here. This alleyway down here, it's known as Murder Alley. Now, the year 1906, we had an election. So, you know, we had the same things going on, Democrats versus Republicans. The Democrats was Jacobo Guerra. Now, Jacobo Guerra was the incumbent sheriff. Now, he had been challenged by this Republican. So anyways, there were allegations of voter fraud because the Republican actually won the election and he beat out Sheriff Jacobo Guerra. Now, the story goes, the newly appointed sheriff was drinking in this bar where out of nowhere, you know, Jacobo Guerra and 3 of his former deputies come down the road and they come out here. Now, there used to be a window right here, and you can actually see that the window is actually covered up. But, you know, they come up to the window. Now they call the sheriff out, and they call him out, and they basically tell him, hey, you know what? You cheated in the elections, and I know, and I can prove it. So we don't really know who fired first, but all we know is that the sheriff was shot, and he was, you know, shot. Try and imagine, you know, 100 years ago, there's a dead person right here in the road. So sheriff died here. Jacobo Guerra and I think his deputies were, they were Morales brothers. They got tried. The Morales brothers were set free, and Jacobo Guerra didn't even stand trial. Politics, and he got family connections. Now this building right here, actually I took a group in here one time. It's actually pretty scary. This is known as the Margot House. Yeah, we're on our way to the cemetery. When the cemetery was built, it was established 1848, but obviously there were already people here. Another thing, the cemetery was a lot bigger than what it was now. The cemetery was go all around like this. Now the reason why it shrank is obviously you have a road right there, a road right there, a road right there, and some roads right there. They cut it down. I don't know. They condensed it, you know, to fit Expressway 83. So what did they do? Well, they just knocked down tombstones and just built a road over tombstones. So the oldest one we know of is 1836, but there might be a lot more older tombstones buried underneath the roads. John P. Kelsey was he was part of what you call the 3 Ks of Texas, not Ku Klux Klan, but you know the Kennedy, King, and Kelsey. You know, King Ranch, Kennedy County, and Kelsey. He was one of the biggest ranchers in South Texas. On top of that, he was also a Starr County judge. And probably the most important thing, he is a man who built City Hall. And legend has it, people have seen a figure walking around City Hall with a long trench coat, carrying a pocket watch, looking at the pocket watch and disappearing into the walls. So, you know, the concept of ghosts in Fort Ringgold, I mean, like I said, I personally think that Fort Ringgold is haunted. Anybody who's taught here, they have experienced, you know, some form of paranormal activity. My father, for example, he had a very interesting story he would tell me about. He would tell me that, you know, this one night he was here, and I think he said it was like an open house night, and he was leaving. And as he was leaving, you know, he heard, you know, marching. You know, and if anybody who's heard military marches, you know, military boots, it has a very distinct sound that you can't fake it unless, you know, you do it with a pair of boots. Anyway, so, you know, he goes to the door and he's thinking, well, it must be a janitor or something walking down the hallway. So then, you know, as he's walking down the hallway, he doesn't see anything, you know, and then he goes back into his classroom. So he's packing up his stuff and then he hears it again. So then my father goes out this time to check, you know, and he doesn't see anything again. So, you know, as he's heading back, you know, his desk was right here, and the desks, the student desks were in front of him. So he says, as he's getting his stuff and gathering his stuff, he says for about a second, he saw a soldier sitting in his desk. Alrighty, well, it looks like we're about to wrap up the tour. I really thank y'all for coming. You guys were an awesome group, and happy Halloween. I really hope that the people who came on the tour learned something new about their hometown, and that they learned something they didn't know before. As I said before, Rio Grande City has so much history that even myself, who is as an amateur historian, has still come to terms with how much history we have here. And I hope that this inspires maybe a new generation of local historians and might inspire people to do more research about the town they live in.